The empty seat. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concord hung in the void between stars, a massive rotating ring structure that symbolized the unity of over 200 sentient species. Today, however, that unity was threatened by a conspicuous absence. Ambassador Zix Fan of the Arachnoid Collective stared at the empty human delegation pod for the 12th consecutive cycle. The sleek black chair where Ambassador Chen should have been sitting remained vacant, its control panels dark. The silence from Earth had stretched to nearly 30 days now. "Most unusual," whispered Counselor Thrix, a methane-breathing Vorlian whose environmental suit hissed softly with each word. "The humans have never missed more than one session before." Zix Van's 8 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of deep concern among his kind. Something is wrong. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but not irresponsible. This silence feels deliberate. The massive chamber buzzed with the overlapping conversations of dozens of species. Some saw opportunity in humanity's absence, others worried about what it might mean. Humans had only been part of the Concord for 63 years, barely a heartbeat in galactic politics, but they had quickly become integral to trade, security, and technological development. High Chancellor Omolak, a towering insectoid with gleaming blue carapace, raised all 4 of her upper limbs. The universal gesture for silence rippled through the chamber. "This council will come to order," she announced, her translator conveying her clicks and chirps into standard galactic common. "Our primary concern today remains the unexplained withdrawal of the human delegation and their continued silence." A ripple of murmurs swept through the chamber again. "Ambassador Zix Fan," the Chancellor continued, "your species has had the most extensive contact with humans in recent cycles. What insight can you provide?" Zix Fan moved his hover platform to the center of the chamber, his exoskeleton gleaming under the chamber lights. "Chancellor, honored representatives, the last communication I received from the humans was cryptic at best. Ambassador Chen said only that humanity needs time to assess its position within the larger galactic community. When I pressed for clarification, all Earth communication channels went silent." General Krax of the militant Ursan Dominion stood, his massive bear-like form towering over his delegation pod. "This is clearly a prelude to aggression. The humans have been expanding their colonial territories at an alarming rate. They are preparing for war." Zix Van's mandibles clicked in irritation. "The humans occupy less than 0.04% of claimed galactic territory, General. Their colonial expansion has been well within agreed parameters." "Then explain their military buildup," Krax growled, projecting data onto the central display. "Human warship production has increased by 300% in the last cycle. They've been stockpiling antimatter reserves and recalling their deep space exploration vessels." This revelation sent a new wave of concern through the chamber. Zix Van hadn't been aware of these developments, and judging from the reactions around him, few others had either. Chancellor Omolak's antennae twitched. "Is this information verified, General?" "Our intelligence is unimpeachable," Krax stated firmly. "The humans are preparing for something. Their diplomatic withdrawal is merely a cover." Trade Minister Quarix, a wispy crystalline entity that floated in a gravity bubble, chimed in with a sound like tinkling glass. "The humans have also been purchasing enormous quantities of raw materials, particularly rare metals and quantum stabilizers. Our trade networks report all human corporate entities have been instructed to stockpile resources." Zix Van felt all 8 of his legs grow cold. These weren't the actions of a species simply reassessing their diplomatic position. These were the actions of a civilization preparing for catastrophe or conflict. "We must demand answers," shouted one of the representatives from the back of the chamber. "Or perhaps prepare our own military response," added another. Chancellor Omolak raised her limbs for silence again. "We will not act in haste. Ambassador Zix Van, as our most experienced diplomat with human relations, I am appointing you to lead a special envoy to Earth. You will discover the meaning behind their withdrawal and report back to this council." Zix Van bowed, his exoskeleton creaking slightly. I accept this duty, Chancellor. Choose your team carefully, Omalak advised. The humans respect directness but respond poorly to threats. Your mission leaves in 2 cycles. This session is adjourned. As the chamber emptied, Zix Van remained, still staring at the empty human pod. Something about this entire situation felt wrong. Humans were emotionally volatile by galactic standards, but also remarkably transparent in their intentions. This silent retreat was uncharacteristic. His assistant, Vril, approached with a datapad. Sir, I've compiled the list of potential candidates for your mission team. Thank you, Vril. Any response from our back channels to Earth? None, Ambassador. Even our human friends in the diplomatic corps have gone silent. It's as if the entire species has collectively decided to stop talking to the rest of the galaxy. Zix Van's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. That's not like them at all. Humans never stop talking. There's one more thing, sir. Vril lowered his voice, despite the empty chamber. Before communications went dark, one of our cultural attaches on Earth reported unusual activity within their global defense network. Massive energy signatures, unlike anything registered before. New weapons technology. Unknown, sir. But the energy pattern was unlike standard human military systems. It was more organic. Zix Van felt his exoskeleton tighten around him, the arachnoid equivalent of a chill down the spine. Organic? He repeated. Yes, sir. The readings were similar to ancient precursor technology. Now that was truly concerning. The precursors had vanished 50,000 years ago, leaving behind only fragments of their advanced civilization. If humans had somehow discovered intact precursor technology. Prepare my vessel. Vril. I think we need to move our departure timeline forward. Zix Van began moving toward the exit, and send a secure message to my private network. I want every scrap of information about human activities in the last 6 months. Where are we going, sir? Not Earth, Zix Van decided. At least not yet. Set course for Proxima Colony. If humans are hiding something, they'd be more likely to let it slip at the frontier than on their homeworld. As his hover platform carried him through the grand corridors of the Council Station, Zix Van pondered the empty seat that had caused such turmoil. In his 60 years of diplomatic service, he'd learned one crucial truth about humans. They were terrible at keeping secrets. Their absence from the Council wasn't about reassessment or preparation for war. They were afraid of something, and anything that could frighten the most adventurous species in the galaxy was something that should terrify everyone else. The diplomatic vessel Silken Thread dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system, its stealth systems engaging immediately. Though technically a diplomatic ship, arachnoid vessels were never entirely without defensive capabilities. Scan for unusual activity, Zix Van ordered. His navigator, Scrix, worked the sensor array. Sir, I'm detecting multiple human warships in high orbit around Proxima Colony. Their defense grid is at maximum capacity. That's unusual for a frontier colony, Vril observed. Zix Van moved to the viewing portal, his 8 eyes focusing on the blue-green world ahead. Indeed, Proxima Colony was established as a peaceful scientific outpost. Why would it need such protection unless... Sir, Scrix interrupted. Long-range sensors are detecting an approaching vessel. Configuration unknown. Not matching any registry in our database. Show me. The main display shifted to show a sleek vessel approaching from the system's outer edge. It moved unlike any ship Zix Van had ever seen, rippling through space as if swimming rather than flying. It's organic, he whispered, realization dawning. Fully organic technology. Before anyone could respond, the ship's communications array chimed. Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from Proxima Colony. It's Commander Davis of the Human Defense Force. Put her through. The screen flickered to life, showing a stern-faced human female in military uniform. Her eyes widened slightly at the sight of Zix Van. Ambassador, what are you doing here? Commander Davis, I might ask you the same question. Why has Earth withdrawn from the Galactic Council? Why are you fortifying a scientific colony? Davis's expression remained neutral, but Zix Fan had studied human micro-expressions for decades. The slight tightening around her eyes betrayed concern. This is not a good time for diplomatic visits, Ambassador. I must ask you to leave the system immediately. Commander, the Council has sent me to. Ambassador, Davis interrupted, her voice lowering. I respect you, but you need to leave. Now, for your own safety. Behind her, an alarm began to sound. Davis looked away, then back at the screen, her composure cracking slightly. It's here, someone shouted off screen. Davis's eyes met Zix Fan's through the display. Leave, Ambassador. Tell the Council. She hesitated, then seemed to reach a decision. Tell them we found something. Something old. And it's not happy we woke it up. The transmission cut abruptly. Sir, Scrix called out. The unknown vessel is accelerating toward the human defense fleet. Zix Fan watched in horror as the organic ship collided with the first human destroyer. Instead of an explosion, the ship seemed to meld with the human vessel, enveloping it like a predator consuming prey. Get us out of here, he ordered. Maximum speed back to Council space. As the silken thread turned away, Zix Fan kept his eyes on the display showing Proxima Colony. The human fleet had formed a protective barrier between the organic ship and the planet, their weapons blazing against the threat. They weren't preparing for war against the Council, he realized. They were fighting something else entirely, something they hadn't wanted to reveal to the galaxy at large. And judging by what he'd just witnessed, they might have good reason for their secrecy. Sir, Vril asked quietly, what do we tell the Council? Zix Fan watched as another human ship was engulfed by the organic entity. The truth, Vril, that humanity hasn't abandoned the galaxy. They're trying to save it. Hidden agendas. The emergency session of the Galactic Council descended into chaos within minutes of Zix Fan presenting his findings. The holographic display at the center of the chamber showed the footage his ship had captured before fleeing the Proxima system. The organic vessel consuming human warships, while others fought desperately to protect their colony. This changes nothing. General cracks of the Ursan Dominion roared over the din. The humans discovered this threat and chose to withhold critical information from the Council. Their secrecy has endangered us all. Chancellor Omolak's mandibles clicked rapidly, an indication of extreme stress among her kind. Order. This Council will maintain order. Gradually, the chamber quieted, though tension remained palpable among the assembled delegates. Ambassador Zix Fan, the Chancellor continued, you believe this organic vessel is related to the precursors. Zix Fan moved his hover platform forward. The energy signatures match fragmentary records we have of precursor biotech. However, this appears to be a defensive or predatory system, unlike the beneficial technologies the precursors were known to create. Minister Korix chimed in, crystal body refracting light as it moved. Could it be that the precursors didn't disappear? Perhaps they evolved. A disturbing silence fell over the chamber as delegates contemplated this possibility. The precursors were revered as the galaxy's greatest benefactors. A species so advanced, they had uplifted countless others before mysteriously vanishing. The idea that they might have transformed into predatory organisms was deeply unsettling. Speculation serves no purpose, stated Delegate Fozon of the Silicon Collective, her metallic voice echoing through the chamber. What matters is the human response. They detected this threat, built up military forces in secret, and withdrew from galactic affairs without warning. Because they didn't trust us, Zix Fan said quietly, but his words carried through the chamber. Think about it from their perspective. They're among the youngest members of this council. Would you trust a room full of ancient civilizations with information about a potentially catastrophic threat? Or would you prepare your defenses first? General Krax snorted dismissively. You've always been soft on humans, Ambassador. Their actions show a fundamental disregard for council protocols and mutual defense treaties. Their actions show a species fighting for survival. Zix-Fan countered. The question now is, will we help them, or continue debating while they face this threat alone? Chancellor Almolak raised her limbs, silencing the chamber again. The Council must have more information before committing to any course of action. Ambassador Zix-Fan, you will return to human space with a full diplomatic contingent. General Krax, prepare a reconnaissance fleet to assess the military situation, but you will not engage without direct Council authorization. Zix-Fan bowed in acknowledgement, though he noticed Krax's expression darkening at the restrictions placed on his forces. This session is adjourned, the Chancellor declared. We reconvene in 3 cycles. As delegates filed out, Zix-Fan noticed a small figure waiting near his private exit. Trill, his former assistant who now worked in the Council's intelligence division. Ambassador, might I have a word in private? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Zix-Fan gestured her into his chambers, ensuring the privacy fields were active before speaking. What troubles you, Trill? Sir, after your report, I took the liberty of accessing some classified archives. She handed him a data crystal. The Council has encountered these organic vessels before, approximately 4,000 years ago. Zix-Fan's mandibles clicked in surprise. That's impossible. Such an encounter would be in the historical record. It was purged, sir, but not completely. I found fragments in the quantum backup archives. Trill's voice trembled slightly. The Council didn't just encounter these entities. They negotiated with them. Negotiated? For what purpose? The records are incomplete, but it appears certain Council species made a pact with these organisms. In exchange for territorial concessions and biological samples, the entities agreed to remain in the outer rim sectors. Zix-Fan felt all 8 of his legs grow cold. You're suggesting the Council, or at least some members, knew about these organisms all along? Yes, sir. And there's more. Trill hesitated. Recent Council communication logs show encrypted transmissions between certain delegates and unknown recipients using frequencies similar to those emitted by the organic vessel you encountered. The implications were staggering. If Council members were communicating with these entities, possibly for millennia, then humanity's withdrawal made perfect sense. They hadn't just discovered an ancient threat. They'd uncovered a conspiracy at the heart of galactic governance. Who knows about this? Zix-Fan asked. Just me, sir. I came directly to you. Good. Keep it that way. Zix-Fan moved to his secure terminal. I need to contact Earth directly, through channels outside Council oversight. Trill looked nervous. Sir, that would violate protocol. Protocol. Zix-Fan repeated with a bitter click of his mandibles. Tell me, Trill, if certain Council members have been collaborating with these entities for thousands of years, what good is protocol? Before she could answer, Zix-Fan's private communicator chimed. The signal originated from a location deep in neutral space. Who would be contacting me from there? He wondered aloud. The answer came as the communicator projected a holographic image. A human female in civilian clothes, her expression grave. Ambassador Zix-Fan, my name is Dr. Eliza Reyes, former xenobiologist for Earth's diplomatic corps. We've never met, but Ambassador Chen spoke highly of your integrity. Dr. Reyes, where are you? Why has Earth withdrawn from the Council? I don't have much time, she replied, glancing over her shoulder. What I'm about to tell you will sound impossible, but it's the truth. The organisms you encountered are called the Vora. They're not precursor technology. They're what killed the precursors. Zix-Fan exchanged shocked glances with Trill. Go on, he urged. The Vora are parasites that operate on a quantum neural level. They don't just consume organic matter. They absorb and repurpose consciousness itself. A Vora-infected host retains all memories and behaviors, but with subtly altered priorities and loyalties. How did humans discover this? Pure luck, Reyes admitted. One of our deep space exploration vessels encountered a dormant Vora node. Before the ship was overtaken, They managed to transmit partial data on the infection process. We realized two critical things. First, that standard medical scans can't detect Vora infiltration. And second, that certain council species showed signs of long-term Vora influence in their evolutionary development. Which species? Zix-Fan demanded. I can't say over this channel, but we discovered that approximately 30% of council delegates are likely infected, including some in leadership positions. Trill made a small, frightened sound. Zix-Fan remained outwardly calm, though his color patterns shifted rapidly beneath his exoskeleton. Why tell me this, Dr. Reyes? Why risk exposure? Because we need allies, Ambassador. Earth has developed a method to detect and neutralize Vora infection, but deploying it galaxy-wide requires coordinates for all major council worlds and outposts. Information we no longer have access to since our withdrawal. You're asking me to commit treason against the Council. I'm asking you to help save trillions of lives. Reyes countered. The Vora have been patient, Ambassador. They've spent millennia slowly infiltrating the major powers. Now something has triggered them to accelerate their plans. The attack you witnessed at Proxima was just the beginning. A crash sounded somewhere behind Reyes. She looked back, alarmed. They found me. I'm sending coordinates for a secure meeting location. Come alone, and tell no one. She leaned closer to the projector. Trust no one whose neural patterns you haven't personally verified with our detection method. The transmission cut abruptly, leaving Zix-Fan staring at empty space. Sir? Trill asked uncertainly. What will you do? Zix-Fan moved to his secure terminal, inputting commands to prepare his personal vessel. What any rational being would do when faced with extinction. Trill. Choose a side. You believe her. That council members are infected by these. Vora. It would explain much about recent council decisions. Zix-Fan paused, considering his former assistant carefully. This mission is voluntary, Trill. Joining me could be seen as treason. Trill's antennae quivered, but her voice was steady. The Council exists to protect all sentient life. Sir, if it's been compromised, then serving the Council's true purpose may require defying its current leadership. Well said. Zix-Fan finished the launch preparations. We depart in 1 hour. Tell no one. As Trill left to make her own preparations, Zix-Fan reviewed the data crystal she had provided. The evidence was fragmentary but compelling. If humans had indeed discovered Vora infiltration at the highest levels of the Council, their abrupt withdrawal was not just reasonable, it was perhaps the only rational response. The question now was whether humanity's efforts would be enough to counter a threat that had been embedding itself in galactic civilization for millennia. And more immediately, whether Zix-Fan could reach Dr. Reyes before the Vora silenced her permanently. His private console chimed with an incoming message, encrypted and anonymous. The message contained only 5 words, but they sent a chill through his exoskeleton. The Chancellor knows you're coming. The Silent Armada. Zix-Fan's personal vessel, the Strandwalker, dropped out of hyperspace at the coordinates Dr. Reyes had provided. A desolate system with a dying red dwarf star. No planets orbited this stellar remnant, only a sparse asteroid field and a small automated research station of clearly human design. Are you certain these are the correct coordinates? Trill asked, scanning the seemingly empty system. Yes, Zix-Fan replied, his 8 eyes focusing on a particular section of space. And we're not alone. As if on cue, the space before them shimmered as a vessel deactivated its cloaking technology. The ship was unlike any human design Zix-Fan had seen before, smooth and organic in appearance, yet clearly artificial. Its hull bore no markings or visible weapon systems. It looks almost arachnoid, Trill observed with surprise. A hybrid design, Zix-Fan agreed, taking our hull geometry and adapting it to human engineering principles. Interesting. The communications array chimed. Incoming transmission, sir. The view screen activated to show Dr. Reyes, looking considerably more composed than during their previous communication. "Ambassador, thank you for coming. Please dock at the following coordinates. We've prepared an atmosphere suitable for your physiology." The transmission ended abruptly, replaced by docking instructions. "It could be a trap," Trill warned. "If the humans wanted us dead, they could have destroyed us the moment we emerged from hyperspace," Zixfan pointed out. "Proceed with docking, but keep emergency protocols ready." The Strandwalker eased alongside the human vessel, magnetic clamps engaging to create a stable connection. The airlock cycled, revealing a dimly lit corridor beyond, perfect for arachnoid vision, but challenging for most other species. "They've adapted the environment to our preferences," Zixfan noted with approval. "A good sign." Dr. Reyes waited for them at the end of the corridor, accompanied by two humans in what appeared to be military uniforms, though without insignia or rank markers. Beside them stood something that made Zixfan pause momentarily, a mechanical construct designed to resemble an arachnoid, moving with uncanny organic precision. "Ambassador," Reyes greeted him with a human bow. "This is Commander Takahashi, formerly of Earth Fleet Intelligence, and Captain Sanchez of our Special Operations Division. And this," she gestured to the mechanical arachnoid, "is an interface unit we created to facilitate our discussion. We call it an envisage, a synthetic design to mimic my species' neural patterns," Zixfan observed. "Impressive, if somewhat unsettling. We find diplomatic discussions proceed more efficiently when all parties can communicate through familiar frameworks," the envisage explained, its voice a perfect replication of arachnoid speech patterns. "Fascinating," Trill whispered. "Such technology is far beyond what humans have officially shared with the Council." Commander Takahashi smiled thinly. "We found it prudent to keep certain advances private, as your absence from the Council demonstrates," Zixfan replied. "I'm here as you requested, Dr. Reyes. Now I would appreciate answers." "Of course. Please follow us to the command center." They proceeded through corridors that seemed to blend human utility with arachnoid aesthetics, a thoughtful touch that didn't go unnoticed by Zixfan. The command center itself was a circular chamber with displays showing various sectors of Council space. 3 months ago, Rise began without preamble. An Earth deep space exploration vessel encountered this. She activated a central holographic display showing what appeared to be a massive organic structure floating in the void between stars. "We believe it's a Vora hive node, dormant but beginning to activate." The image shifted to show data readings of the structure. The Vora operate as a collective consciousness, distributed across billions of individual units. Each unit can function independently or as part of the greater whole. They don't just infect hosts. They restructure them at the quantum level, incorporating their consciousness into the Vora network. "Like a biological quantum computer," Trill suggested. "Precisely," Rice confirmed. "Once infected, a host retains their memories and personality, but their fundamental loyalties shift. The changes are subtle, seemingly reasonable alterations in priorities or policy positions. Over time, infected officials make decisions that benefit the Vora agenda without realizing they're being influenced." Commander Takahashi stepped forward. "We developed this technology to detect Vora infection." He held up what looked like a simple handheld scanner. "It measures quantum neural coherence patterns. Normal brains show chaotic but individual patterns. Vora-infected minds show subtle synchronization with other infected individuals, even across vast distances." "May I?" Zixfan gestured to the device. "Of course." Takahashi handed it over. "We've already scanned both of you. You're clean." Zixfan examined the device with interest. "If what you say is true, why not bring this evidence to the Council directly?" Captain Sanchez laughed bitterly. "We tried. Ambassador Chen presented preliminary findings to the Inner Council 6 months ago. 2 days later, 3 members of our research team were dead in accidents, and our lab on Mars was destroyed in a reactor malfunction. That's when we realized how deep the infiltration went," Rice continued. We began covert scanning of Council delegates whenever possible. The results were disturbing. She activated another display showing a list of Council species and infection percentages. Zixvan's upper limbs trembled slightly as he read the data. Chancellor Omolak's species shows 87% infection rates. He observed quietly. The highest on your list. Yes, Rice confirmed solemnly. We believe her species was among the first to be infiltrated centuries ago. Their centralized neural structure makes them particularly suitable as Vora hosts. This is why Earth withdrew, Trill realized. You couldn't trust the Council because you didn't know who was compromised. Exactly. Commander Takahashi nodded. We needed time to develop countermeasures and build up our defenses. The attack you witnessed at Proxima was the first direct Vora assault. Until then, they'd been content with gradual infiltration. Something changed, Zixvan mused. Something accelerated their timeline. Captain Sanchez activated another display. This did. The screen showed what appeared to be archaeological excavations on a remote world. 6 months ago, a joint research team discovered intact precursor technology on ZB-449, a supposedly uninhabited world in neutral space. The technology appears to be a weapon specifically designed to target Vora neural networks. The precursors fought the Vora, Zixvan realized. And lost, Rise added grimly. But they nearly succeeded. This weapon could potentially disrupt the Vora collective consciousness, rendering them unable to coordinate across interstellar distances. The discovery of this weapon must have triggered the Vora to accelerate their plans, Trill suggested. Precisely, Takahashi confirmed. They can't risk us replicating or deploying this technology. Zixvan processed this information carefully. What do you need from me? 2 things, Rise replied. First, confirmation of our findings from a trusted Council member. Second, access to the Council's central database. We need precise coordinates for every major world, outpost, and station to deploy our countermeasure effectively. What countermeasure? The Envisage answered, its mechanical limbs moving in perfect mimicry of arachnoid gestures. We've developed a quantum field generator that disrupts the Vora neural network without harming host bodies. Properly calibrated, it can sever the connection between Vora and host, essentially freeing the infected individual. The challenge, Sanchez added, is that it must be deployed simultaneously across all infected worlds. A partial deployment would alert the remaining Vora and potentially trigger a more aggressive response. Hence your need for precise coordinates, Zixvan understood now. But accessing the Council's central database would require Chancellor-level clearance, which is why we need your help, Rice said. Before Zixvan could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. Captain Sanchez moved quickly to a tactical display. Multiple vessels emerging from hyperspace, he reported tensely. Council security signatures. How did they find us? Trill asked in alarm. Zixvan's mandibles clicked in grim realization. The warning message I received before departure. The Chancellor knows you're coming. It wasn't meant to help us evade detection. It was confirmation that we were being tracked. Commander Takahashi turned to Reyes. We need to evacuate. Now. There's no time, Sanchez countered, studying the tactical display. They've positioned vessels to block all hyperspace vectors. The Envisage moved closer to Zixvan. Ambassador, we must make a choice. The fate of trillions hangs in the balance. Zixvan's 8 eyes focused on the approaching Council vessels. One decision could brand him a traitor to the Council that had been his life's work. The alternative might mean complicity in the subjugation of the galaxy by an ancient parasitic consciousness. In the end, the choice was simpler than he expected. Dr. Reyes, he said firmly, I believe Earth's evidence. What do you need me to do? The ancient threat. The command center of the human vessel transformed into a hive of activity. Captain Sanchez barked orders as crew members rushed to battle stations, while Commander Takahashi and Dr. Reyes huddled with Zixvan over the central tactical display. The Council vessels will be in weapons range in 6 minutes, Takahashi reported. Standard protocol would be to demand our surrender and attempt capture rather than destruction. Standard protocol assumes we're ordinary fugitives, Zix-Fan countered. If these ships are under Vora control, they'll eliminate us without hesitation. Reyes nodded grimly. The Vora can't risk the spread of information about their existence or our detection methods. Then we fight, Trill said with surprising firmness. Against 5 Council heavy cruisers, Sanchez shook his head. Even with our advanced shielding, we wouldn't last 10 minutes. The Envisage unit moved closer to the display, its mechanical limbs adjusting the tactical projection. There is another option. The asteroid field contains high concentrations of radiophasic minerals. If we can reach the densest section, their sensors would be unable to track us effectively. A temporary solution at best, Takahashi observed. They would simply blockade the field and wait us out. Zix-Fan studied the projection thoughtfully, unless we give them something else to worry about. He turned to Reyes. You mentioned Earth has been building up its military forces. How close is the nearest human fleet? The 7th Expeditionary Force is operating in the Ta City sector, approximately 6 hours away at maximum FTL, Sanchez replied. Too far, Takahashi frowned. Perhaps not, Zix-Fan said. Council protocols require reporting back to Central Command before engaging in any action that could be construed as an interspecies incident. If we can delay them for even an hour. Understanding dawned on Reyes's face. We could send a quantum-entangled message to the 7th. They might not arrive in time to save us, but they could recover the data and continue the mission. Sir, Trill interjected, I may have a more immediate solution. She pulled out a small data crystal from a hidden compartment in her exoskeleton. This contains my Council intelligence credentials. With it, you could send an emergency override signal to the approaching vessels. Wouldn't that be tracked back to you? Zix-Fan asked with concern.